conventions. Writing thus has a number of conventions that separate it out from speaking. There are handwriting, spelling, and layout and punctuation. For the first is handwriting. Many students whose native language orthography is very different from English letters, they have the difficulty of forming English letters, like Chinese, Korean, Arabic, Russian, Japanese. They have very different orthography from English letters. So the students need a special training. This might involve practice in the formation of individual letters, like we did when we were in the kindergarten or in the elementary school. We must be remember when the first time we learn alphabet. The teacher give us the task like this. Yes, the teachers write the letters for the example here. The teacher write the letters above and then we imitate the teacher's handwriting below. That's how we learn the letters. Sometimes teacher can also write sentences out neatly with spaces underneath for the students imitating that writing. For the example like this. The teacher write the sentence in the book, "Good handwriting is precious," with spaces here, and then the students imitate the teacher below. Moreover, handwriting is a personal issue. You must know that each person has each handwriting style. Nevertheless, badly formed letters may influence the reader against the writer. So, we should encourage the students with the problematic handwriting to improve it. Handwriting is still important now. It is for assignments, for examination sometimes, and for personal letters. The second is spelling. Although incorrect spelling doesn't often prevent the understanding of a written message, it can adversely affect the reader's judgment. All too often bad spelling is perceived as a lack of education or care. One of the reasons that spelling is difficult for students of English is that the correspondence between the sound of a word and the way it is spelled is not always obvious. A single sound may have many different spellings. For the example, like poor and poor, poor P-O-O-R and poor P-O-U-R. It has the same sounds but different spelling. And the same spelling may have different sound. For the example, like cool and blood. Cool, C-O-O-L, and blood, B-L-O-O-D. It has the same spelling, that is double O, but it has also a different sound. When the students work on a different phonemes, we need to draw their attention to the common spelling of the phonemes. When students come across new words, we can ask them what other words they know with the same kind spelling or sound. We should get the students focused on a particular of the variety of English. But They still have to be aware of the variety of English, the difference of the spelling of in the variety of English, like in the British and American. And one of the best way to help students improve their spelling ability is through reading. The third is layout and punctuation. Different writing communities obey different punctuation and layout conventions in communication, such as letters, reports, and publicity. There are frequently non-transferable from one community or language to another. Though punctuation is frequently a matter of personal style, violation of well-established custom makes a piece of writing become awkward for many readers. Different genres of writing are laid out differently. For example, like business and personal letters are different from each other. To be a successful writers in our own or another language, we need to be aware. We need to be aware of these layouts and use them appropriately to get out the message across as clearly as we can.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Jasa Alpia. I'm from the last group. In this video, I want to explain about the first to student writing. So, I want to explain about the points. The first is process and the product. In the teaching of writing, we can focus on the product of the writing or on the writing process itself. The process approach aims to get to the heart of the first skill that should be employed with writing. It is simple from a process approach as students to consider the procedure of putting together a good page of work. For example, discuss the conflicts of first and the final draft with our students and ask them to decide whether the following activities take place at first or final stage and to put them in the best order. And then writing and genre can approach to writing students study text in the genre they are going to be writing before to embark on their own writing, just if one them to writing business letter of first get we before staying to confront their own, and if we want then to real explains to discover facts about the consider and the specific language used which in common in the genre. This forms part of the verb writing phase. For example, we may tell to find any language which express approval or the disapproval, or to note down any if sentence they come across. And then creative writing suggests investigative texts such as writing for tourists and the flights. Task activities have a number of pictures to recommend them. Creative writing is a journey of self-discovery, and the self-discovery from task effective writing And then for us, comparative activity, not only working together, but also comparative writing works we want to express. And Hammer mentioned in the first case, craving and the opposite are great angry by working more than one person. In the process of writing, there will be a new idea or the other word is a feedback to make a good writing. And Hammer said writing in group, whether as part of a long process of a short camp like communicative activity and the motivative the student. And the last and important, use the computer is the means of creative most place and the email equated of the pen place. Okay, thank you so much for watching my video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The next is about teacher's role in teaching writing. The first is a teacher as a motivator. Teacher motivate the students, creating the right condition for generation of the ideas, persuading them of the usefulness of this activity, and also encouraging them to make as much efforts as possible. The second role is teacher as the research of the students. Here, the teacher should be ready to supply the information and language where it is necessary, and then tell the students that we are available for them, and also be prepared to look at their work as it progresses. And also the teacher offering advice and suggestion to the students with constructively and positively, and also tactfully. And the third role is teacher is a feedback provider. The teacher should respond positively and encouragingly to the content that the student have written. When offering the correction, the teacher should choose what and how much to focus on based on what students need at this particular stage of their studies. And the next is about writing lesson sequences. Here, there are some examples of writing lesson sequences. This is for the example number 1 about Paul's business trip. This activity of the lessons is punctuating a text, and this activity focuses on writing conventions, and this activity is for the age young adult and above. And for the level is for elementary level. In this task, students practice basic punctuation such as capital letters, commas, apostrophes, and full stops. To complete the task, they need to be aware of where speaker would pause their breath when reading the text out loud, as this will help them punctuate the task correctly. And here is the example number 2. The example number 2 is about the genre analyzer. The activity is writing a review, and this activity focuses on identifying genre features, and this activity is for young adult and above, and the level is upper, intermediate, and above. In this sequence, we want our students to write reviews of plays, concerts, or film they have seen before, and to do this in a way which is appropriate for the kind of audience, either real or imaginary, they are writing for. And they analyze this with using genre analyzing kit like the picture here. Writing reviews can be greatly enhanced by having students write in pairs on groups, keying their opinions directly into a word processor. The discussion and focus which the computer screen provides will add to the creative nature of the activity in many ways. Studying different writing genres is a vital first stage in having students do their own writing in specific genres. And here is the example number 3 is about a poem. The activity is running dictation and focus on writing for fun, concentrating on writing correctly. Age is any, it's free, and the level is pre, intermediate, and above. In the following example, the basic idea of a dictation has been subverted somewhat so that students dictate to each other, making the writing that happens as a result of this enjoyable and perplexing it in turns. Here, students are put into groups, and then the teacher puts an A4 copy of the following poem on a table at the front of the classroom. The poem is like in the picture here, and then each group sends a representative to the front of the class to read only the first line of the poem and memorize it, and then run back to their group and dictate the line. Because this is dictating, running dictation, the writing is for fun. And the alternative procedure at this point is to ask all the students to write down in complete silence what the poem means for them. The effect of writing and silence in this way can be dramatic and enjoyable, so it is writing for fun and concentrating on writing correctly. The example number 4 is about Julia's story. This activity is about story circle, and this activity focuses on cooperative narrative writing. This is for any ages, and the level is elementary and above. In this activity, students join together to write a story, but there is an element of fun built into the activity, and the results are not intended to be taken too seriously. Students are put into groups of about 5, sitting in the circles, and the teacher then dictates a sentence. And then each student writes the sentence at the top of their piece of paper, and then they're asked to write the next sentence to Julia's story. All they have to do is write one sentence which follows on from this introduction. When all the students have done this, the teacher tells them to pass their pieces of paper to the person on their left. They all now have to write the next sentence of the story which has just been passed to them. When they have finished, the teacher asks everyone to pass the paper to the person on their left. They all now have to write the next sentence and then so on. The procedure continues until the pieces of paper return to their original owners. The students are then encouraged to write out the stories they have just finished. The results are often highly amusing, and because many hands have collaborated in the process, nobody has to suffer individual responsibility for the final version. This kind of group writing is enjoyable and useful for developing writing fluency. However, it should be used sparingly, otherwise it will lose its main attraction of spontaneity. And this is the example number 5 is about Lady Margaret Belford. The activity is about looking at notes, and this activity focuses on abbreviations and other note-taking conventions. This activity is for adult and the level is advanced. If students are to write complex composition, they will need to make notes when they plan their work. In this example, at the advanced level, students are first asked to think of at least 3 situations when they might need or want to take notes. They are then asked to say when abbreviation, punctuation, initials, numbered points, and drawing might help them. They are then asked if they have any special methods that they personally find useful. For the example like this in the picture, there are many signs here, and the whole sequence has allowed students to consider the business of note-taking and symbols we use. We could also show students 3 or 4 different note-taking methods, numbered points, a spidergram, or points recorded in no particular style or order, and ask which they would find most useful. And the example number 6 is about women in the US. The activity is report writing. The focus of the activity is coherence, and this activity is for adult and the level is advanced. You can see in this picture women in the US. In this sequence, students write a report based on the following statistics about women in the US like this. Women in the US, a new look, number, race, age, lifespan, education, marriage, families, children, political power. They start in groups of 3 by deciding which topics go together to make the coherent paragraph. Each person in a group chooses one of the paragraphs they have planned and writes it up. They are told to link the information together with cohesive devices they have studied, especially contrasting 2 pieces of information with words such as whereas, but, in spite of, and etc. In their group, students now study their 3 paragraphs and work out what order they should go in and how to join them together. If they have access to the computer screens, each group has a chance to make immediate changes of sequence and language. When the complete reports have been finished, they can be put up on the board or included in a website so that they can be compared with other groups' versions. A discussion can now develop about which versions are more coherent or easy to read. The sequence shows how planning the order of ideas in a text, coupled with the use of previously studied cohesive language, can produce well thought out reports which can then provide good material for comparison and discussion. That's all for the sequence.